on the Bullhorn Betty crime story side. I am Bullhorn Betty, and this is the case of Lilly and Jack Sullivan. In this particular segment, we're going to be discussing key factors and behaviors of the mom and the stepdad and figuring out what could have happened to these children. While there are still other theories at play in this case, it appears that something inside the household is what many believe have happened. When it comes to these two kids, they disappeared at the same time. Something obviously happened. Hey, Don, Southern Grammy, Carla, Melanie, it's nice to see you all over here. We're going to probably do something a little different on this side. We're probably going to have a more of a back and forth conversation because I've got some questions. Maybe some of you guys can help me answer some of those questions and start picking up some information. Well, hello there. There you are. Hi. Hi. What you doing? What you doing? Okay, get situated. Get situated. There you go. Good girl. Good girl. So the disappearance of Lily Sullivan, which is 6 years old, and Jack Sullivan, which is 4, from their Lansdowne Station home in Pictou County, Nova Scotia, Canada. And they disappeared on May 2nd when they were supposed to be in school. This was reported about 9:50, 10 a.m. in the morning. And some of the dispatch calls that we've heard because of the work Plunder has done has allowed us to hear what was going on behind the scenes with those dispatch calls. And those dispatch calls indicate that the parents told law enforcement that they heard or seen the children at 8 a.m. I believe that Jack even said he saw Lily and was the last one to lay eyes on Lily before they disappeared. So there's a lot of information related to this. There's a lot of speculation related to the timing and the date that these children were missing. And it has drawn significant attention to these statements and behaviors of their mother, Malia, and stepfather, Daniel. So we're going to go over some key factors and behaviors that I think are important that we must notate, especially with Malia. Now, many of you guys know Malia, their biological mom. Daniel Martell is not their biological father, but Malia is their biological mom. She's mom. She gave birth to these children. And I find it awfully concerning that she took off from the family home where her two small children, disappeared, and she has never been back. That, to me, tells me something more is going on, which we've discussed. But Malia reported the children missing around 10 a.m. on May 2nd after waking to find them gone from their home on Garlock Road. She stated she heard them playing earlier that morning but fell back asleep only to discover their absence later, prompting an immediate 911 call. And we're going through the same processes that we were going through with Sebastian Rogers, because what is immediate? We're hearing on one hand that they didn't hear these children since 8 a.m., and on another hand, hearing that they called the law enforcement at near 10, and we're hearing reports from the mom that they immediately called. But when you listen to some of the stories that Daniel spins, we're hearing that he was out ahead of the helicopters and drones searching for these children up to waist high water. And then we hear on the other side that he was there waiting for law enforcement. So we're all scratching our heads saying, do they even realize what all they're saying is coming out of their mouth? We don't know. But she says she immediately called 911, and I don't know if that is true or accurate. I did drop a video on the main channel yesterday, and this was another live that I had done on a few topics that I think that you guys might be interested in. So when we're wrapped up with this, you might want to head over there and check out the video that I dropped last night. Did I miss anybody? Kathleen, it's nice to see you. Yes, I did. Donna, good morning. Melanie, good morning. Mickey, Shell, Kathleen, Gigi for life. I think I said hi to you, Southern, but it's always nice to say hi again. Faye, good morning. The struggle is real. It's nice to see you, Kendra, Phil. Hey, guys. Hey, guys. So, an emotional TV interview with CTV News on May 3rd, she pleaded for the children's safe return, expressing hope and a desire to hold them again. She described the children sneaking out through a sliding back door while she and Martell were occupied with their baby, noting the door's quiet operation made it hard to notice, in so many words. She clarified that Lilly and Jack, who have mild autism, undiagnosed mild autism, were not nonverbal, countering online rumors describing them as friendly. And as a matter of fact, both of them, both the mom and the stepfather, doubled down, saying that they'll talk to just about anybody. They have no problem speaking to anybody. Hey, Robin, it's nice to see you. Faye, did I say good morning to you? If I didn't, good morning, love. I hope you're doing well. So, after the children disappeared, Malia left the family home to stay with family in another part of the province, reported blocking Martell Daniel on social media. But she's never been back to the area, from my understanding. She hasn't been back there for these elevated searches, these additional searches, or anything. She was, my understanding is she was at a press briefing about her children, and she had to walk out of the press briefing, and she had to be taken care of by the ambulance. Something was going on. I don't know if it was a stunt, or what. But she went out there, so she walked out of the police briefing related to Delilah. Can you quit hitting my tripod? Can you just chill out? Thank you. And she was cared for by, first responders on the scene. I don't know what the issue is, if she was having a panic attack, if she was just playing the part, right? But she walked out of that briefing, and then they ended up getting in a fight on the front of their house. Now, if they were both together, why is Malia's family, pointing the finger at Daniel and accusing him? I don't know if we're going to find that answer, right? If they were together, think about this whole scenario. They weren't. Daniel wasn't working but once a week at the local mill. They were living out here in the middle of nowhere in a single wide trailer. They had 2 children, so they're not making a whole lot of money, but they were together. From my understanding, the entire time, from the time these children got off the bus on Tuesday, these 2, their sister Meadow, and the 2 parents were together. So why would one parent believe that another parent may have done something if they were together? They would know one way or another, no? Betty, you need to watch JC from last night. I was disappointed in what she was saying. I've been hearing that some people didn't really like it. Apparently, she had done a flip-flop or something like that. It's her, assessment. And assessments can change because we change, depending on what information becomes available. It might be upsetting, but maybe she went back and reviewed the case and came up with a different scenario, maybe one that we are not appreciative of. But again, it's just her opinion based on it. Sometimes it pans out, sometimes it doesn't. What was it about, Betty? You need to watch. I was disappointed. I believe she was saying something about the Sebastian Rogers case. I didn't watch it. I heard about it because somebody sent me an email about it. I can't even remember who it was that sent me an email about it, saying that she said something that really upset a few people in the Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers case. And I can't remember what it was. Does anybody know remember what it was that she said? People have said the ones with kids in Nova Scotia get monthly checks. It might be possible. The lights video. Oh, the garbage trash ride. She's back on that again. Well, you know what? Everybody's entitled to their opinion. We have went over that at nauseum. It's not the opinion of the Bullhorn Betty channel that those are trash truck lights. We've seen trash trucks in the area at the time that this allegedly happened, you know, like the 5 a.m. when they're supposed to be there. And you can clearly tell that the trash trucks are trash trucks. We've analyzed this, the lights, the flashlight video so much, you know, it's been enhanced. There's no ifs, ands, or buts for me or this channel whether or not that those are, in fact, flashlights or trash truck lights. I absolutely 100% believe that they are flashlight lights, and they are. You can watch them coming from the backside of the Proudfoot's home, and we know that there's no trash truck going through their neighborhood at 3. Can you imagine if a trash truck came in a neighborhood at 3 a.m.? Every single neighbor would be complaining about the noise from the arm dumping trash and bottles and everything into the truck at 3 o'clock in the morning, between 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm sorry. I just don't see that being a plausible possibility. But either way, I digress. As we learned, Malia left her missing children and took off and never came back, even after walking out of a briefing on her children with law enforcement. She has since limited her media interactions, with reports indicating police advised her not to speak to the press, unlike Martell, Daniel, which is a little, you know, this is where these things come in, and I say, you know, this sounds like Christopher Proudfoot, or this sounds like Katie Proudfoot, or this sounds like the Sebastian Rogers case, or this sounds like the Summer Wells case, right? But it's because of these things. You know, she's acting like Christopher Proudfoot in this situation, but also like Katie Proudfoot. She ran away. She's saying that they're telling her not to speak to media. Then if she doesn't want to speak to media, fine. Why isn't she out there while they're searching for her child? Why isn't she searching for her children? She knows her children better than anybody. Why isn't she out there in the woods searching for her children? None of it makes sense. I don't know a mother that can be held back from searching for her kids, but clearly this mom can. Her withdrawal from the family home and lack of further public statement contrast with Daniel continued presence in the media and media engagement. Tension arose between Malia and Malia's family as well, and Malia's family and Daniel and his family, because remember, Daniel's relatives live on that property, with some relatives of accusing him of the involvement in the children's disappearance. Again, it comes down to the fact: how can Malia point the finger at Daniel when she was with him the entire time? And if he disappeared, why isn't she screaming that from the rooftops? And if he disappeared for a certain amount of time, when the children disappeared, the Canadian police, I would think, would arrest him. So why is she gone? Why hasn't she been back? Why is there this weird tension and conflict between her and Daniel all of a sudden, when they were together the entire time? And the reason why I keep repeating that is because I want to, you know, put in the brains that they're together all the time, and something happens to the children, then they would both know. They would both know. Yeah, my heart breaks for him too. My heart breaks for Seth. I wish we could have done more, you know, but it sucks. So tension arose between Malia and Daniel, with some relatives accusing him of involvement in the children's disappearance, and an argument occurred on the family home on May 2nd, leading to Martell's mother removing some of Malia's family from the property. So that happened on the day that these children disappeared. Like by the 3rd or the 4th, the mom was gone and has never come back. Something's not right just in that behavior in and of itself. I'm sorry. And the Deception Detective did just drop a new video as well. If you guys haven't seen that, it's talking about another child in Canada that disappeared under suspicious circumstances. We've discussed it here with Dylan, and he gave his insight on those parents and the grandparents, and he's saying something sus in that case. I listened to the grandmother's statement. My heart felt so bad for her, but he's even saying her vagueness in her statement is not really making him feel all warm and fuzzy. So what happened to Dylan? What happened to Dylan? And then we have these two children a few years later, and so it's just making us question what's going on here. So now we're going to be looking at Daniel's, some key factors and details related to Daniel. And Daniel has been actively involved in the search. We see him. He's usually the one person that's front and center in most of the conversations with media, because Malia's gone. She's MIA. Much like Sebastian's own mother, Katie Proudfoot. She went MIA. She's been MIA for quite some time. Doesn't engage in media, doesn't really engage in finding her son. She's military trained, MMA fighter trained, and sits on her ass while her son has been missing for 15 months. She makes me sick to my stomach. You want to know what I can't stand in this world more than anything in this world is a piece of shit mom. So he's been actively involved in the search, remaining at the family home, and providing detailed updates to search and rescue officials. He has spoken extensively with media, expressing exhaustion but hope. And I, like the deception detective, believe that Daniel is hitting a lot of the boxes, getting the right check marks in the right boxes. But because of his extensive and notable drug history, people that are addicts are very, very manipulative, because they have to be in order to keep their hustle going, so they can keep, substances flowing for them, especially if they're addicted. So you have a situation where you're constantly feeding yourself, and you have to find ways to do that. And people that are addicted are by far some of the most, next to narcissists, are some of the most manipulative people, cunning and conniving people that I have ever met. And I can say that from experience. Many of you guys know my walk. But I did not steal, hustle or what from people. I had a lot of money at the time, and I pissed all my money away, but I didn't steal from anybody. He told CBC News he fully cooperated with police, providing access to his phone, bank statements, and Google Map data, and agreed to a polygraph test to counter accusations. But I still, and it's been quite some time, and I believe Daniel has still talking to media. Why hasn't media asked him after all this time? Shoot, today is the 22nd. It's been 20 days. Has he taken the polygraph yet? Have they flown anybody in to administer that polygraph? And if so, what were those results? Daniel described Lilly and Jack as awesome kids, noting Jack loved bugs and dinosaurs, Lily's preference for girly things, while often following Jack's lead. He emphasized their close sibling bond, calling them best friends. Despite police statements that there was no evidence of an abduction, Daniel expresses fears that the kids were taken. And you know what, those fears might be, again, I'm seeing all the red flags everybody else is with the parents. So it's kind of distracting us from really going down any other road. But I still think we need to resolve who was in and around these kids at that house party. And what do those people at that house party know? What did they see? Was it were the kids in bed? Were they already asleep? Were they out running around while the party was going on? Were the parents getting frustrated? Was anything out of the ordinary? There's just so many other questions that I have related to that party, not in an accusatory manner, because I don't really have any accusations to wield at this point other than, something doesn't seem right here, And the behavior of the mom doesn't coincide with the gravity of the situation. Daniel seems to be hitting all the boxes in the right spot, but there's just something that's just gnawing at the pit of my stomach when it comes to him. And that's why I keep explaining this manipulation, because that's the only way I can explain it, is that he knows he's in hot water and he is working overtime to convince people it was not him. And a lot of addicts have to do that, and they do it convincingly because they're constantly stealing from people and having to convince people that they didn't do it. So they have kind of this PhD or master's degree or doctorate degree in manipulation and lying. Okay, that's why. So just in my opinion, he does have these abduction concerns, and despite police statements, there has been no evidence of an abduction. Daniel expresses fears that the children were taking, urging the police to at least consider or monitor the borders of the provinces. And he noted the children's trusting nature, stating that they would get in any car, which is, again, a voluntary... Have they gotten into any car before? I mean, that's a pretty factual statement for something that may have never occurred before. Like, how would he know they would just get in a car with a stranger? Have they just gotten into a car with a stranger before? And if so, what were the events around that, getting into the car with a stranger? I got more questions. You see how every single statement has more questions, because we want to get down to the nuts and bolts of it. And statements like they would get in any car. My next question would be, how do you know that? Have they gotten into a stranger's car before? Right? So, if offered food, water, or candy, were they offered food, water, or candy and gotten into a stranger's car in the past? And if the answer is no, then how would he know that they would get into any car? You see my point? So, Daniel states that on the morning of May 2nd, he and Malia were in the bedroom with their 16-month-old daughter, Meadow, when the children slipped out the back door. And this is similar to the statement that the mom also made, the one statement that she had with the media. She had one statement with the media, and that was it. After that day, she left and never went back. But she also said that they slipped out the back door, and she went on to over-explain how silent the back door is and how they would have never heard them opening it. He mentioned hearing Jack in the kitchen and Lily coming in and out of the room before noticing their absence. He noted the children were home from school on May 2nd because of Lily had a bad cough, and they were absent the previous day as well. And again, it questions, if Lily is the one that had a cough, then why isn't Jack in school? I have never been held at home from school because my sister's been home sick. Okay? If I'm not sick, my butt's going to school. I mean, my mom pretty much said it just like that. You're going to school. And not only that, but when a parent has a sick kid, they don't want another kid running around that could be in school learning. I just don't see it. I mean, just common sense tells me that. You would think, anyways. So, Daniel responded as being denied access to his infant daughter, Meadow, by the Department of Children and Family Services in Stellarton, adding his emotional strain. And this is super important because over and over again, people, now I don't know if they're just trying to play devil's advocate, if they just don't know, or, whatever. But people have sent me emails and put comments on my videos when I talk about the Department of Children, or the mother leaving. And then they start saying, well, what if, I don't play in hypotheticals when it comes to this stuff. The mother's not there, and there's nothing that I can tell you. I'm almost turning 46. September, I'm going to be 46. I'm going to be an old lady, 46 years old, right? And if I went missing tomorrow, I'm a grown-ass adult. you wouldn't be able to keep my elderly mother at home. Okay? I just want to put that in perspective. And I'm a grown-ass woman. And my mom's an elderly woman. But I tell you what, if she felt she needed a baseball bat in her car to come find her daughter, she'd carry a baseball bat in her car to come find her daughter. But even with an adult child of a significant age, my mother would never run away. Okay? She would never run away. And this lady ran away. And we cannot look past that. But the counter, the opposition to that is, well, what if they told her that she needed to leave or they were taking Meadow? Well, the Department of Children and Family Services in Canada has Meadow. Okay? So Mommy Dearest doesn't have her. So now that you know that Meadow is in the Department of Children and Family Services and being denied access to Daniel, most likely being denied access to Malia, why is Malia's butt not there looking for her other children? Questions that need to be answered. He faced accusations from Malia's family, which he denied, expressing frustration he was the only one still there fighting for them. And again, it comes down to the fact that Daniel and Malia were together that entire time. So why would Malia point the finger at Daniel if she was there? Interviews occasionally include details perceived as self-focused, such as emphasizing his cooperation with police and victimhood from public suspicion. Again, more behaviors that I attributed to the Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers case. Now, Malia states that she heard the children playing before falling back asleep, only to notice their absence upon waking up again. The exact timing when she last saw or heard them is vague, and we know the deception detective and what he believes in vagueness. And her brief nap raises questions about how long the children were really truly unsupervised. Daniel's description of hearing Jack in the kitchen and Lily moving in and out of the bedroom is specific, but the timeline from when they were last seen to when their absence was noticed is unclear. His claim that the sliding door was closed but the children's boots were gone adds ambiguity. It's uncertain how the door's state was confirmed. The last confirmed sighting of the children by an independent party was on April 29, 2025, by their school bus driver, not May 2nd, as claimed by the parents. The discrepancy highlights in social media posts suggested the timeline may start earlier, and I'm one of those people that believes the timeline definitely starts earlier, potentially complicating the parents' narrative. Malia's emotional plea to CTV News appears genuine, with visible distress and a focus on wanting her children back. However, some online commentators found her delivery rehearsed. I'm one of those people. Possibly due to repeated interviews or exhaustion. There were no repeated interviews because she only did one, which could be misinterpreted as insincere. I think it was just insincere. Her young children are missing. I would be a blubbering wreck. Daniel's frequent media appearances shows a mix of exhaustion and advocacy, but observers noted the overemphasis on defending himself against accusations rather than solely focusing on the children. He mentioned of a polygraph test and detailed cooperation with police could be seen as deflecting suspicion, and that could be. And I really do believe that, it's one thing I know, but addicts outside of narcissists, in my view and in my opinion, are some of the most manipulative people. Body language and emotional consistencies should be scrutinized, but stress, guilt, or media pressure can affect presentation. Daniel occasionally used past tense, which is a major problem for me, regarding Lily's backpack. And Malia withdrawal from public view could raise questions, though may reflect grief or strategic distancing. We know about the separation and the tension between um, Daniel and Malia. Daniel claiming the only one fighting for the children. Malia disappearing out of sight of anybody, media, law enforcement, and everything. The reason behind Malia's departure and communication blackout with Daniel needs clarification. What it do was it due to suspicion, emotional distress, or police advice? I don't believe the police advice. I don't believe police give advice like that. That sounds legal in nature, not something that is the responsibility of law enforcement. The family argues on May 2nd that the accusation against Daniel suggests underlying issues that could affect the reliability of their accounts. So we still got a little bit more here. I did some research on the abduction versus wandering off, which many of you guys know. I don't believe that either one of those happened. It's just, it doesn't make sense. I believe if the children had wandered off, they would have been found very quickly, especially in that rugged terrain. There's not a lot of places to move, and it sounds like the searchers are having a lot of problems getting in these areas. And these are much smaller children than grown adults. But I'd have to think that some of these areas would be scary to these children. Hey, Cindy, it's nice to see you. Hey, Mama Bear. Children could have gone to the bus stop by themselves and got abducted. It's not too far. It kind of is, because they're in the middle of nowhere. Not that abductions don't happen in the middle of nowhere. It's just, it's odd. It is, to me, odd, because most of the time children standing at a bus stop is not really approached by people, and many people that do approach young children are there to help them and assist them and wonder what they're out there doing, and if they need some help. And there are, I get there are, but the stranger danger abduction is the lowest, literally statistically the lowest on the totem pole, but it seems to be always the first one that people run to as a. And it is, in all fairness, Mama Bear, it is possible. That's why I also say that we can't just focus squarely on the mom and the stepfather, because there are other alternatives that need to be resolved, and one of those is the possibility of the stranger danger abduction. Now, Canadian police seems to be a little more transparent than some of our police stations around this country. So, one thing I can say about that is that they're saying there's no evidence of an abduction, and I have to trust that. I don't think. I think if there was any possibility, this is just my theory on it. As much time and effort as the Royal the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RCMP, is putting into this, I would have to think that if they really truly thought these children were abducted, or there was one scintilla of evidence to support the possibility of them being abducted, they would have the sirens going off for these children. I mean, look at them, okay? Law enforcement is, you're looking at these moms and fathers out there searching and stuff, and you can hear it in their voice that they really want to find these children. You can hear it in their voice. They're trying to keep the public up to date on what is going on, but you can also get the undertone that I don't think they're buying what the parents are selling. I think they're keeping everybody, engaged, because that's what they need. They need to keep everybody engaged. But I really think that they are searching. They called these children within 5 days of as being deceased. So something led them there, and I don't believe it was um, the the climate and the ailments outside. I just don't. I think there was more to it. Somebody had asked if there was cadaver dogs that had been out there. I don't know if cadaver dogs had been out there, but maybe if they did and they did make a hit and they made a couple hits, then maybe that could have led law enforcement to, identify these two children as deceased. But whatever the situation was that led law enforcement to believe these children, which it's breaking my heart seeing all these photos that I have of these children. It really does just totally break my heart that to think that both of these children aren't coming home again, and they were both so happy. They loved each other so much. They were each other's best friends. It's just it's so hard, and many of us want to just know why. And for me, I feel like this was a terrible act just because of the behavior. I know that a lot of people say, well, don't look at this, don't look at that, don't look at this, don't look at that. Okay, I get it. But I look at a lot of different things, and I think it's worked for me, But I'm looking at the behavior, the back and forth between the mom and the stepfather. It doesn't seem natural. When you put the what's going on behind the scenes to theory, for what do I mean by that? For example, we have one side of the family accusing another side of the family of doing something to two children. Yet the mom and the stepfather, the ones that are accusing and the ones being accused, were together the entire time. So for me to believe she has this switch where she wants to be and point the finger at him, it seems like she's trying to distance herself from something that happened. And when she removed him and stopped talking to them, it further solidifies, because he may have been the one that said, hey, we need to do this, or hey, we need to do that. If we do this and we do this, then nothing will happen. Well, and that something did happen, and nobody's taking responsibility for it, and the mom ran off. And she gave us a line of BS, in my opinion. She was talking about her kids getting out of the back sliding glass door and wandering off in the woods. And she was saying it with a straight face and lack of emotion. And her kids were lost in the woods. I think everybody would be kind of freaking out a little bit. So, and then to turn around and just take off from the area and never come back. I believe that there is something that she's running from. And I think it's something that she'd love nothing more than to blame Daniel for solely and squarely. But the situation isn't just him. I think it's both of them. I think something happened. And I think it was neglectful, quite frankly. Whatever it was, them not supervising the children getting into something, them having a house party, the children getting out, somebody accidentally hurting them with a vehicle or something like that. Could this have been something more nefarious? Yeah, it could be. Because all of the photos I'm seeing of these children are from 2021 and 2022. We know that that she removed any photo that had Daniel in it, so there may have been a lot of photos that they had of the family that she removed that were more recent, but removed them because Daniel was in them, which I find pretty stupid, because we need to look at what the kids look like today, not what they looked like 2 or 3 years ago. However, there's nothing from 2023, 2024, 2025. So it begs the question, did this family start engaging in substance abuse more frequently to the point where their life started spinning out of control? Is it possible? Yes, the answer is yes. Because these kids looked well taken care of in 2021 and 2022. I'd like to see some photos of their life in 2023, 2024, and of course before they disappeared in 2025. I'd like to see that. But those have all been removed. So they're not there, and that's another, red flag for me, another suspicious activity, having all these photos of the children and then abruptly stop taking photos of your children. I don't know. But I have to follow all of the experts, and all of the experts are kind of leaning to the fact that the situation, as stated by the parents, doesn't make sense. Plain and simple. All right, guys, thanks for coming over and hanging out with me on this channel. If you guys haven't thought about it, please consider subbing up. CB Canada, you can tell L and J are close, but I know. It breaks my heart in pulling these photos. It was very hard because they're adorable kids. They're adorable kids. And yeah, you know what? In all the photos, it didn't look like they had, the best of the best, but they had a clean environment, a clean home. They had parties. They were appreciated. They had family that loved them. You could see that. You can see that in these photos. They're well cared for. They loved each other. So what happened? That's where we're at right now in this case. What happened? And that's what we're working to try to find. But I believe, just a piece of me believes the mom and the stepdad know what truly happened. And it's just getting them to the point where they finally come clean and relieve themselves of the burden. Things happen. These children deserve somebody fighting for them. And if Daniel's fighting for them like he says he's fighting for them, maybe stepping up to the plate and being the stepfather that they need right now, and just taking accountability and responsibility. If something happened under their watch, just say what it is. This is not getting any better, and we need to bring these beautiful babies home. Yeah, no witnesses, insufficient cell service, rural location. Yeah, and I heard that cell service, which makes me ask, was there a house phone, in their home? Like, how did they reach out to law enforcement? Do they need to leave their home and go down the mountain or wherever they're at to get, cell service? This is 2025, and I know we have sprawling even in other countries like Canada, but in my opinion, in 2025, there's no excuse why any country or province or state doesn't have proper internet service. I mean, again, it's 2025. We should have it everywhere. So, all right, guys, that's just our conversation piece. Over here on this channel, I've always been intrigued with true crime, but never caught up in missing children's cases, but did with Sebastian. Other than staying with BHB for updates, may unsubscribe to many because too painful about children. Yeah. Well, we try to advocate, we try to help, if that means getting our butts out in the woods to search, that's what we do. If it means posting flyers, that's what we do. If it means advocating, that's what we do. If it means, getting protests together, that's what we do. We do whatever we can do to help advance a case forward, to help bring attention to a case. And in some cases, to let, government officials or the parents know that we're angry about the situation and that something has to be done. So, I hope that Canada does right by these kids. So far, it seems like they have been. But I'd like to see some things go on in Dylan's case, too. Not just Lilly and Jack's, but, it seems like there are a few parents out there that are questionable. And, all these children deserve justice. All right, guys, rock it out with your coffee beans out. Don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And until next time, please be safe, but more importantly, kind to one another. God bless.